There we are. Apologies for being a little bit late. I hope everyone's okay after the weekend and that had a good weekend. Let's see. Hey Jack, Oddity, nice. I've been here before, but it was some time ago, I think, right? I recognize the name. I'm sorry for being late. I was fixing some things inside. Our son is a little bit sick. We were eating outside and he refused to come out. He just laid in the sofa like this, and it turned out he had a fever. So yeah, needed to tuck him into bed. Hey Andres, nice to see you again as well, Andres. Did anyone see the video last week about how help can give you more ego? Someone talked to me about that and I said, like, well, I never thought about it that way, but it really is an interesting thing when you stop thinking about becoming a better person and think about having a strong sense of self, and what taking away that strong sense of self, how that would actually make you a better person. Not trying to get a lessened sense of self by becoming a better person. JVB, nice. Happy you saw it. Yeah, I saw JVB was the first one to see, to comment. Daylight savings time caused me to miss most sessions over the summer. Oh, that sucks. Which time zone are you in? Christian, good evening. Saw the video. Yes, nice. How do you like it compared to the other ones? Because those videos like that are quite, it's quite an Eastern US. Oh yeah. It's simple for me to make videos like that because I don't have to plan so much. I don't need to script anything. I just have a thought of something I want to do and I sit down and I talk. The problem is, I've always said this, and people think I'm saying jokingly, but it's actually true. When I have a course with people in place, I lock them in a room for a day and they can't get away from me. So I have my time to put down my case and explain what I'm trying to say. But when I'm on YouTube, I basically have 3 seconds, sometimes even less, before people just click away because they don't like it or they haven't gotten to the point. So you have to structure your thoughts. And I have to say that YouTube has made me become a better explainer of things. I've gotten better at explaining my thoughts, and you guys asking questions has really helped with me structuring my way of thinking and how I tell things, because I can get my point across, but it can take a long time sometimes. And these videos are really nice. I just think of one subject and I make it very simple, and then I just talk about that, and it's not as polished as the other ones. I recorded one today actually about how, wait, what was it I record about? Oh yeah, joy in meditation, how it's very different in different traditions. In the Theravadan traditions, they see the world is vile and it's defiled, it's something bad you want to get away from. It's just craving and aversion, it's like it's bad stuff. Whereas if you go to some of the, I mostly spend time in Plum Village, which I think is a Zen tradition, in the Mahayana tradition, they focus on enjoying the world and seeing the magnificence of it and being grateful for everything. So they focus on the joy. It's quite opposite of the other one. And I just had the thought and I made a video about that. So that was just recorded in the forest when I was out walking. So I'll try a few more videos because I've said it before, I wish I could do more, but it just takes so much time. And I like these sittings we do together so much more than sitting down and editing in front of the computer, that I tend to do this more. I see Jack is saying, if there's no self, then there is no real benefit or loss. Well, let me just see, is that what it says there? It's, I think when people talk about self, I don't talk about self or ego often. It's just because other people use that term. I use the term sense of self, because what it really is, and the problem here is that people try to understand it. People try to figure out, okay, this is what self means. And that just doesn't work. It's not about understanding it. You really have to experience it. And even when you do, you'll be like, wait, what was that? That was strange. Basically, it's really a sensation that I am here. You can feel a center point. And I explain it, usually the way I explain it is that when you push against thing, I call them distortions, right? When you have so I have an emotional attachment to this sofa. I want this sofa. That means that I'm pulling towards it. Now, all of a sudden, I'm pulling this sweater and I'm pulling this towards me. So my sweater started having like some kind of shape. And then I don't like this microphone. I want to decide if so now I'm pushing against my sweater. And now it's gotten a shape. And then there's something else pulling, and something pulling here and pushing here. And all of a sudden, I've created this thing here that I've been pushing and pulling against. Just really simplifying it. And I do that with different modulations. Some are very soft and almost like gentle, but you're still creating, just doing this. This is really nice. This is soft. This is comfortable. This is someone saying nice things to you. It is very nice, but it's still some kind of feeling of I am here and you're doing it to me. And when you get past that, the world just becomes there. Like there's no need for you to do anything. It would be, like I said, it's almost in like, why would you hurt anyone? It just doesn't make any sense. There could never be any violent hate crimes. Would be impossible. It could never happen, because there's nothing that hates like it. So the whole idea between, if there's no self, then there's no real benefit or loss. That's like, I get what you're saying, but at the same time, it really is so obviously better to live life with a lessened sense of self. My fiance started saying, because we started joking about this, she said that, Martin, it's just so much nicer to be around you and there's less of you there. And she really means that, because when there's less of me there, I don't have any arguments with the kids. I don't fight with my fiance about things we want different. I don't get aggravated by things. I enjoy my children. I can sit still with them and just be with them. I don't need to do anything. There's less stress. There's less everything that's difficult. And it's just me being there, active and engaging with what's there, not checking my phone, not offering some thoughts, thinking about the next thing, really just being there. So it sounds like it would be the other way around, but really, when there's less of you there, you're just much more enjoyable. And I don't mean less of you as in you're being lost in your thought, but less of you sensation there, less sense of you. See, JVB, yes, I like the format of your last video, especially because you go a bit more deeper into the topic of discussion than how you would usually talk about a topic in the live sessions. Nice. Good to hear. I could talk for hours and just never stop, so I need to focus my mind. But I like choosing a topic like that and then going a little bit more into depth. I like that. And when I do the more thought out videos, then I have to limit it, because I try to make it a bit more easily digestible. So I think these videos will be more for people like you who watch these videos, who come here for the evening meditations. Andreas, how can you think if your children do not follow the advice you give them? Is it also about ego? So this is really interesting, Andreas. I'm assuming you have kids, or since you're asking that question, this is something that, yeah, let's do this before time is, never mind. When we talk about children and wanting them to do something that we want them to do, there are different parts of that. There's the one part is that you're the adult and it's your responsibility that they're safe, that they don't do anything to harm themselves, to harm others. You also need to move the schedule forward, meaning there's a time when you need to eat, you need to go to bed, you need to clean up your toys, there needs to be some kind of order. Those are things that you as an adult need to take care of. Now that's kind of non-negotiable. That's just how it is. The problem then becomes when they don't want to do that. My daughter tonight, when we were going to bed, she just didn't want to go to bed. She just sat down. We're like, okay, let's go to bed now, and let's just prepare. We're going to brush your teeth, change your clothes, and our papa has to go and sit and do his meditation. So we need to go to bed now. And she's like, nah, I want to do this, I want to do this. And then she does other stuff, and then she starts crying. You never let me do this. You let my brother do everything, but never me. It's so unfair. And she's crying. And like this drama, it's so difficult to be 5.5 years old. And my fiance started reacting, and she started getting angry. Like, Nate, now we stop this. Enough of this now. And I could really see how me, contrasting having a strong sense of self and not having a sense of self. I do have a sense of self, but it's very weak right now. So for her, it was someone doing something to her, pushing on this t-shirt, right? So you made the t-shirt feel even stronger, and then the t-shirt wants to push it back because you're pushing against it, right? And then there came a reply that was very angry, whereas in my case it was pushing, but it was not really hitting anything. So I could be very calm, and I was kind of laughing at her. I tried not to laugh at her because she was acting so overboard that I just couldn't take her serious. But obviously I don't want to laugh at her, because I know if I laugh at her, she'd just get upset with me, and I don't want to make her feel belittled or like her emotions aren't valid. But I could then go in and calmly deal with her, and I didn't have to be affected myself. I could be very firm, saying, no, this is the way it is. I have to go out, so now we're going to do this. I can first try it slowly. If that doesn't work, and I say, no, now we do it this way. Now there's no playing around. We're really going to do this. And if you really like, Luva, now we do this. And you can modulate. You can do it different levels, but I don't have to do it from my, how should I say it, from my anger. I'm still there, I'm still centered, but I can adjust my response, but it doesn't have to be with the anger. And she then doesn't feel so pushed. She'll still struggle, she'll be angry with it, but we don't get so far away, because as soon as she let that go, she'll come and she'll sit in my lap and we'll read the bedtime story, and there's no conflict left. So it's not really that you get other people to do things. It's not, you don't get rid of your sense of self to get other people to do things. You get rid of your sense of self because it's just more enjoyable to live life like that. And other people tend to do more what you want them to do, because there's no fighting there. They don't feel like you want anything from them. Like the video was talking about, when you help and they can feel that you need them to do something for you to feel good. So you're not really doing just for their good. Nice, Mats. Okay, we're running out of time. I'm just going to see quickly the other. Christian, my understanding of the video was that demanding a certain outcome leads to suffering. That is true, but there's more to it than that. Even if, because as long as you have a sense of self, you will be demanding a certain kind of outcome. You just can't get around that. Otherwise, you'd be telling yourself, no, I don't want it, but you still do. Yeah, unfortunately. Jack, from what I understand, bhikkhus are expected to not attach to anything or anyone. According to the rule, if there is none of them, there's less of you. Yeah, that is the idea of bhikkhus. We have the precepts, so we're not supposed to attach to things, but reality is very, very, very different, unfortunately. And rules can't, that's what I was saying to Christian, is that just because you say, okay, I understand, if I want something from you, when I help you, then that leads to more sense of self and suffering. But that doesn't mean you can get away from that, because there's still this sense of you there. Then you're just trying to do a mental, what do you call that? An intellectual bypass by saying that, okay, I get it. I'm going to trick myself into not wanting a specific outcome. And then you try to convince yourself you don't want it, but deep inside, you do want something, because you are there. There's always going to be that as long as you are there. And this is not about denying the self. It's not about pushing it down. It's really about letting it come up and seeing that, you know what? Life is much more enjoyable when there's less of me there, when I'm not trying to control everything, when I'm not projecting myself into the future, into the past. Okay. Like I said, I have an easy time going on talking about this stuff, but it's time to meditate. And we can continue the discussion after. Tonight is Monday, so we have guided meditations. For those of you who are new, we do the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 method to begin with. And basically what that is that we use our 5 senses. And we use them in such a way that we try to do them without this distortion that I was talking about. We try to just see the sofa. We see the reflections. I see the shadow when I'm moving my arm up and down. We try to be appreciative of the world around us without needing to have it. And then we look at those things when we feel, oh, I like this, I want more. It's not that we push that down. We really try to feel that and say, hey, wait a minute, this actually hurts me. I mean, if you heard the term, I love you so much it hurts, that's really just really strong craving, but where we name that love. So we say 5 things that we can see, 4 things we can feel, 3 things that we can hear, 2 things we can smell, and 1 thing that we can taste. After that, we sit together for 20 minutes, and today I'll be guiding you. You can do your own meditation if you want to, and afterwards there's a question and answer if there's any questions left. So, You can say it together with me. Try to say it out loud, it's better, because it's really about stopping and observing. So I see a blue pouch. I see light from the monitor hitting the chair and the stuff behind it. I see a graph. I can see a bell. And I see the letters SE. Those were 5 things that I could see, and you would be doing the same thing at home. Now we take 4 things that we can feel. So I can feel my hair. I can feel the microphone stand. I can feel the glass of my telephone. And I can feel my mouse mat. 3 things that we can hear. It's nice to take your time to let sounds come forwards. If there's some smaller sounds, maybe not the first one that comes to your. I hear something that sounds like a propeller plane, or some kind of propeller. I heard someone closing a door. I hear plastic that's blowing in the wind. Let me take 2 things that we can smell. I can smell cumin, or curcuma maybe. I can smell oranges. And finally, we take 1 thing that we can taste. I can taste bitter taste. So for tonight's meditation, we'll be doing a breathing exercise. This is not breath works. We're not trying to control the breath. Instead, we're trying to observe the breath by getting out of the way and letting breath happen by itself. So start moving your awareness to your breath. we're looking for a wide awareness of the breath, not a small pinpoint, prick point, needle point where the breath is happening, but try to be aware of breath in your whole upper torso, almost like a field of knowledge that breath is happening, where you can feel that you're breathing in and you're breathing out. And just keep awareness of breath happening in that area. This might sound like a simple thing to do, but you'll soon notice that as soon as you try to do this simplest of things, your mind is going to get involved. You'll start having thoughts about what happened in the past and things that will happen in the future, and you want to feel like you stay in control, and it's very important that you figure out what to do about that meeting tomorrow, or what that person said to you, what that really means, or that big crisis going on over there where you're not right now. So I want you to ask yourself for permission to let go of all of those things for the next 20 minutes. It's not going to make a difference if you try to figure out a solution in the next 20 minutes, but instead allow yourself to take a break, take a Kit Kat, and just enjoy your breath. Just feel how nice it is to be alive, to feel breath happening inside of you without any need to go anywhere. Instead, you just need to sit still and watch as your breath goes in and goes out, and goes in and goes out. To make it a little bit easier, we will do a technique where we count our breaths from 1 to 8 and then down again from 8 to 1. You'll hear me doing exaggerated breathing just to emphasize when I'm breathing in and out, but for yourself, just let breath happen in whatever tempo it's happening. And I'll do it together with you one time, and then you can continue by yourself. So breathing in and breathing out. 1. Breathing in and breathing out. 2. Breathing in and breathing out. 3. Breathing in and breathing out. 4. Breathing in and breathing out. 5. Breathing in, breathing out. 6. Breathing in, breathing out. 7. Breathing in, breathing out. 8. Breathing in, breathing out. 7. Breathing in and breathing out. 6. Breathing in, breathing out. 5. Breathing in and breathing out. 4. Breathing in and breathing out. 3. Breathing in, breathing out. 2. Breathing in, breathing out. 1. Now continue counting your breath from 1 to 8, and then down again from 8 to 1 as you breathe in and breathe out. 1. Breathing in, breathing out. 1 of the cornerstones of my method or my way of practicing is to enjoy being where you are, is to feel that it's nice to be you, that it's nice to be here, wherever there is. I want you to ask yourself for permission if it's okay that as you sit there and observe your breath, that you enjoy being there, that you look for a feeling of being in a good mood, a feeling of being okay with things being as they are, not distorting towards the future or the past or anything outside of here and now, but simply accepting reality as it is for you right now, which hopefully is you sitting safely somewhere with closed eyes and observing your breath. And if you aren't able to give yourself that permission, then I give you that permission. It's okay. You're safe. You can enjoy just being where you are and feeling what you feel and being who you are, not who you're supposed to be or things you're supposed to do, but instead just accepting that right now you're sitting on your bum, listening to some random dude on the internet telling you to observe your breath. Now, if that doesn't make you smile or have a good time, then I don't know what would. Really, it's right here. You don't need to do anything else. As you observe your breath, see that there's all these vibrations or distortions trying to push you away from just enjoying. Maybe you want your breath to be different. Maybe you are lost in your thoughts somewhere else, which is so easy to do, and that's okay. Just come back and observe your breath and focus on seeing what it would be like to be in a good mood every time that you sit down and feel the familiarity of your own breath, the beautiful feeling of feeling air coming into your body, making you feel fresh, making you feel like there's life around you, and it's just enjoyable being here. Appreciate all the things that had to come together for you to sit here, and the fact that you can sit wherever you sit and take the time to just observe your breath. That is incredible. And keep on observing your breath while you're focusing on this good mood as you're breathing in and breathing out. 1. Breathing in, breathing out. The awareness that we're trying to build is not a pointed awareness. It's a broad awareness. It's wide. when you point your awareness, you unfortunately create a distance between you and the thing you're pointing towards. But when you use your awareness in a wide sense, that tends to dilute the sense of self, because that is a wide feeling. And that goes together with trying to feel good or be in a good mood. That feeling is a wide feeling all over the body. It's not the same as the feeling of joy when you won the game that you were playing, or when you battled against all the odds and overcame something. That is more of a pointed feeling of success. So as you're focusing on enjoying being here, try to make that into a wide feeling. Just feel the smilingness of sitting, the warmth on your skin, or maybe it's cold or air. Just appreciate how nice it is to experience your senses. And widen your awareness to feel all of you. This breath is happening. And you're breathing in and out. 1, in and out. usually welcome to keep on sitting a bit longer, or just drink a cup of tea with me, or ask questions, and we can have a discussion if you have anything you want to talk about. See, Jack is saying, I was going through the Dhammapada a lot recently, and I realized that there is a lot of talk about solitude and being alone with the self, like the Sutta of Rinu Kagavisa Sutra, Siddhartha straight requires from the monks of loneliness. Yes, that's actually part of the thing I discuss about in my next video. Not quite, but part of it. The Theravadan tradition, I mean, people forget this quite often, in that Buddhism was based on, I think it's called asceticism or asceticism, like men who lived out in the forest by themselves, without family, without any responsibilities, and who basically lived in huts in the forest and just meditated the whole days. And then people came and gave them and gave them alms, food that they ate, and they did crazy stuff as well. Not the Buddhists, but those kind of people. They would look into the sun until they went blind because they thought they could see God, and they did weird stuff, which is why the Buddha came up with the middle way, meaning that don't go to extremes. But solitude is a big part of especially Theravada Buddhism, that you need to be okay with being by yourself. And my opinion about that is that there's some really, really good benefits to being periodically by yourself, not interacting with other people, because slowing down and not having all these things hit you. I talk about these distortions, right? Things that you distort towards. When you go to a Theravadan meditation center, there's not a lot of things to distort against. It's basically made to minimize the amount of stuff you distort towards. It's supposed to be very simple things around you, no conversations. As monks, you have limits on what you can discuss. We're not allowed to discuss subjects such as war, or at least samaneras aren't allowed to, like novice monks are not allowed to discuss heavy topics because they will get the mind started. We're trying to minimize the amount of stimuli that we have, so it'll be easier to just let go of all of this and focus on the distortion we have inside of us. So yeah, there is a lot of solitude in Buddhism, and that's not quite how most of us live our lives that study Buddhism. And the problem then becomes when someone tries to live in society and see that as the highest path of practicing Buddhism, meaning that you should practice in solitude. That's quite difficult to do when you have families, kids, and a wife or a partner or a husband that you need to take care of and be with. Which is why there's all these strange things that come up. There was some advice from the Buddha that if you live if you're really Buddhist and you live with a partner, then the woman should undress separately from the husband so that he doesn't get craving towards her. And they should not dress in such a way that they create sexual attraction. But at the same time, you have duties as a husband, as a wife, which is part of that is sexual intimacy. I think that's just really weird. If you're trying to have a normal functioning relationship, having a good sex life is actually quite important, I'd say. If that doesn't function, that can cause all kinds of problems. At least having it to a degree where it just works for you. So trying to pretend that you're a man living alone in the forest, like a long time ago, that just, you don't... That's probably not the best way to practice in daily life if you have a family. So that's why Buddhism has evolved, and there's lots of other traditions that have other approaches towards all of that. And it's easy to say, oh, they're wrong, it should be the original way, but all things have their uses and advantages. So practicing like that for periods of time is incredibly useful. It really, really helps with taking away all these things and just letting you calm down and observe what happens inwards. But then after that, it's really good to go to a place where you can subject yourself in a controlled environment to stimuli, to things you need to look at, to have discussions and see what happens when these things come up, but actually learn to not follow the, ooh, I want to react with anger or pull someone towards you, but just observe those things. Finally, you also need to go back into society, and you need to be able to move around in society and not do all this distortion towards things, and then you need to start that over again. So I really see the benefit of all different ways of practicing. I think all ways of practicing have their advantages and disadvantages, and some things are better for certain things and some things are worse for other things. So it just depends on what you want to do. But yes, there is a lot of talk about solitude in the Theravadan tradition. You did say solitude, right? Being alone with yourself, yeah. Mats, coming back to rebuilding my meditation habit has been quite difficult. I realize how scattered my mind is and how to really force to keep the meditation going. When you say that, do you mean in the actual sitting, or do you mean coming back to the cushion and sitting, meaning keeping your habit going, or is it the actual sitting that your mind is scattered? A great way, by the way, to keep up your practice is to, let's see, both much the same, but mainly the actual sitting. Okay, a great way is to have a group of people you sit with, like we do now. That's a really good thing. Having a group of people around you physically is even nicer. I miss that sometimes. I had, when I came back here, we had a group that we met every now and then. I think once per week we would go to a sitting. That was very nice. You just sit with other people. You don't need to share their beliefs or anything. You just sitting quietly together with other people is quite powerful, and it helps keep that thing going. If the mind is scattered when you sit down and it's difficult to focus on the meditation, something that can be really useful, it depends on what is causing that, but it doesn't really matter that much. The main thing is that you need to look at, again, different methods for different situations. So if the mind is scattered, and especially if it's difficult thoughts that causes anxiety, walking meditation is incredible. Walking meditation is really, really good when you have an active mind, because when you sit still, it can be overwhelming. The mind just throws things at you the whole time, and you can't, okay, calm down, I can't take it. But when you walk, there's more movement, there's more activity, and you keep your eyes open. That makes it easier to handle the scatteredness. So the way we did meditation in most of the centers, at least, was that you would walk 1 hour, and then you'd sit 1 hour, and then you'd walk 1 hour, then you sit 1 hour, and then you'd have a break. So there would be both. You would combine them, because it really is powerful to do both at the same time. And you'll find that your sitting is usually much better when you do walking. Before the sittings, you would walk first and then sit. I have one method that I teach, which is, it was a Thai monk when I was in Malaysia, I think. Yes, yeah, I remember now which center it was. There was a Thai monk who had a style of doing walking meditation. I think he called it the 7-step lotus walking meditation. I have never heard anyone else mention this, but basically it's, you walk 7 steps, and you start with, I can't remember it now exactly. I do it in our house when I do it, but I don't do 7 steps. Basically you start with this foot. So you take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then you start turning 6, and you turn around 7. And you make sure that when you turn towards the same side. So you're always turning towards this side, towards this side, towards this side, towards this side, towards this side. So you don't walk around in a circle, because, and this is really true, if you turn after those 7 steps and just walk around in a circle, it makes it kind of like, oh, you become like this. But if you break the direction every time you turn, so basically if I walk this way, I would turn towards that side, come here, and I'd turn towards that side. I turn towards that side, and I'll keep on turning like that. So I'm always turning towards this side. That just makes it easier to do, and that's something you can do basically on the size of a yoga mat. That's all the space you need to do walking meditation if you do that technique. I have thought about doing it. I have a few thoughts about doing some courses, and actually thought about doing a segment about that walking meditation, because it's very useful since you can do it anywhere. And I do it myself almost every evening before I sit. I just find it very relaxing. It's a nice way to calm down the thoughts, because there's physical movement that's bigger than just the small breath you're focusing on, or whatever technique you're doing. Let's see, Mats is saying, it's quite a weird feeling. I can't make out concrete thoughts, but just an uneasy feeling of being pulled in all directions. Focus seems almost impossible. I'll give walking a meditation. Yeah, that sounds... an easy feeling of being pulled in all directions. It almost sounds a bit like some kind of anxious feeling. And walking meditation, again, is incredible for when you're feeling overwhelmed by your thoughts. And the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 method we do in the beginning of this sitting is also a really good technique to do. You can do that. So if you feel like you have lots of thoughts, try doing the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 method and really say it out loud and do it and stop. And it doesn't matter, that could take like half an hour to do that exercise if you wanted to, but usually it just takes a few minutes. And then you try walking, and then you try sitting. If you do those things, you'll have done a few things to really calm down before you actually sit down on the cushion. Or maybe you'd actually do walking and then the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 when you're sitting down, and then do the sitting. You can try mixing it up. That would be interesting to hear your experience with doing it that way. I see Jack is saying, Buddha was killed, wasn't he? There's a lot of talking in history scriptures regarding his times about him heavy. I have not heard that. Being poisoned. No, I don't. Oh, no, wait a minute. Now that you mentioned it. Am I confusing that with someone else? Something else? I think it depends on what tradition we're talking about. In Theravada tradition, I'm just trying to think about what had happened, but very likely he was sitting there and all the goddesses and them came and bid him farewell, and all the monks were gathered, and then it's probably a very holy spiritual scene that happened. In Theravada Buddhism, they would never say that it was poison. I have a hard time seeing that. But I have also some kind of memory of someone saying, or was it another monk? I don't... Oh, no! Now I remember what it was. It was food poisoning. He ate food that was bad, and that's why he died. You're right, Jack. Sorry. I'm not really good on Buddhism, but you're right. Yeah, if I remember correctly, it was food poisoning that he died from, and he said that you shouldn't blame the person who served the food, or something like that. Yeah, Buddhism, I'm really not the best person to ask about these things when it comes to Buddhist stuff. That's not my forte. I have a question, by the way. When I did the counting in the beginning, and I counted the breath up to 8 and then down from 8, did I miss going to 8? I can't remember. I usually sit and count on my fingers, because when I start meditating, I have a hard time keeping my thoughts together, because I get kind of just, get really relaxed, and I count and I just lose track many times. So I wasn't sure if I had counted to 8 or if I just started in the middle going down. I hope someone got a laugh of it if I missed it. It's easy when you're doing it for yourself, but when you're doing it out and I'm trying to do it for other people, I tend to mess things up, unless I do with my fingers. I believe you did. At least I got confused in the beginning. Sure, if I fell asleep. Yeah, Mats, it was you and everyone else. I did hypnotism, so I hypnotized you. That's why you missed it. It couldn't possibly be me that did a mistake, obviously. Jack, when I close my eyes, I get to the point, the only thing I hear is my nose. Maybe I'm just weird. Martin, did you see my text? No. Did you write text, JVB? I did not see it. This is so strange. I have it sometimes. Some people write things and it disappears, and I don't see it. No, JVB, according to my... actually here, yeah, JVB wrote, yes, I like the format of your last video, especially because you got a bit more deeper into the topic. That's the only thing I saw from you, JVB. Did you have another question? How does anxiety relate to distortion? That's an interesting topic. Yeah. The nice thing about distortion is that it makes no difference between good, bad, disease, mental illness. Like there's no like personal investment in the distortion. It is just distortion. It doesn't matter what it comes from. We're just looking at the distortion. So when people say, "Oh, I have so much distortion towards this person," yeah, so I have so much anger towards this person. Like then you have, okay, anger, they did something wrong. I need to let go of what they did wrong, and then I can let go of this whole thing, and I need to understand it. Or I feel betrayed. They did this towards me, and I feel betrayed, and I have this strong feeling of betrayal, and I'm suffering so much. Then you need to go into the whole story. But when you look at distortion, that stuff is irrelevant. It's just distortion. It doesn't matter if it comes from loving someone too much or from someone betraying you, or if it's anxiety. It's just distortion. It's the same. And anxiety is very much distortion. It's a uncomfortable sensation of distortion inside of you. It can be quite general, but it can also be many times what happens is that if you're focused on just being here and they're like, oh, I need to go somewhere. And if you have a lot of those, I need to go somewhere in a specific time, then you get distortion towards needing to be there. And this is why I say that you kind of need to experience what it's like to not have strong distortions, to see like, wait a minute, life is just so much better when there's less of you reacting with the world around you and you're just living life. So anxiety is definitely something that you can watch in your meditation when you're observing distortion. See, JVB, no, I wrote something else. Here, I'll write quickly again. Yeah, go ahead. I'll do that as a last question. I hope it works. Very strange that doesn't... or maybe you can cut and paste it. Can you see it yourself, JVB? Jack had also sometimes. I know that he wrote something. I don't think I have a limit to how much you guys can write. No? There should not be a limit to anyone how much you can write, so I don't know why that happens. Jack Crasher, YouTube algorithm is weird. Sometimes if too much text is put as an input, it just deletes it or not include. If it's too long, you mean, Jack? Yeah, that would make sense. Mats JVB, last week. Okay, thank you, Mats, for posting it. Oh, you see it, JVB. So Mats, you can see its post, but I can't see it. That's very strange. JVB said, last week I shared about my random burst of high anxiety, and you mentioned that I may have something similar to general anxiety. I reflected and realized that betrayal is a root cause. I'm currently looking JVB, I'm currently looking for work, and I think what causes my anxiety is a sense of betrayal. As I've looked for work, people have said that they'll help me, but they eventually ignore me and don't help. Thank you. Thank you much for doing that. Very strange. I don't know why it does that. So this is one of those instances where what I like about JVB's questions is that they always ask for specific help, and I never give specific help. I'll check that one. Top chat. It's on top chat. Okay, now I have it on live chat. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mats. Let me just see. Now I can probably see. Yes, now I see JVB. Okay, well, that was something new. I told you I'm not very good at this. I must have... okay, but good. Now we know. Let's see, there we have it. So I don't give advice for people what to do, but there's a lot of stuff in there which has a lot of meat that you can look at. So looking for work, I think that causes my anxiety is a sense of betrayal. So betrayal, yes, absolutely. That's something that can cause a lot of distortion and feeling of pressure. People tell me they eventually warranted it. So how would I deal with that? there's two parts to that question, JVB. The first part is that you need to find a job. That's part of what you need to do, obviously, and you need help doing that, or you want help doing that. And people have told you that they're going to help you. You're reacting in a way where you're distorting towards that. You're feeling betrayed because people didn't help you when they said they would. And if you can see past that, if you can let go of that distortion and just see it for what it is, it only means that someone didn't help you with it. That's all it says. It doesn't say that they don't like you. It doesn't say that they don't think you deserve the help. It doesn't say that you're a bad person, that you're unlikable. It just says that for some reason, which from the information you're given, we have no idea, just for some reason they didn't help you. So the reason why they might not have helped you could be that they forgot about it, that maybe they tried but it didn't actually lead anywhere. Maybe they found it too difficult when they actually were going to do it, or maybe they got overwhelmed by things in their own life so they didn't have time to do it. It could be that you didn't remind them and they needed reminding because they forgot about it, but it could also be that they just don't want to help you because, yeah, they thought like, oh, it's the kind of thing you just say in passing, and then when push comes to shove, it's like, yeah, I'm not going to have time. What on earth is that sound? Wow, if that was a car, could you hear that? The whole room vibrated. My point is that you're involving your sense of you, of you being threatened by them not doing what they said they would do. And that's simply not necessary. What you could do is try to look at that distortion that you have towards what you feel a betrayal, and then see what was your part of it, part of this. Did you remind them? Did you say something that it could be the other way around, that you were asking for more than they were willing to supply you with. And if you haven't asked them for help, then what could you do now? Instead of feeling like, oh, they said they were going to help me, but no one ever got back to me. Could you call them back again? Could you send them an email again? Could you contact them again and ask and say, hey, I'm still looking for work. Did you have anyone you could contact for me or help me with something? Oh my goodness, I think I just gave advice. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that. My point being that if you let go of oh, I'm so hurt, and you go up to them and you accuse them, because they will feel like, oh, you betrayed me. They can feel that, and then they're not going to want to help you. But if you can let go of the feeling of betrayal and simply go up to them and ask them and just see like why they didn't help you. I keep looking because now I'm seeing something else. I'm wondering if maybe I'm not seeing any messages at all now. Does that make sense, JVB? Can you see how your fear of betrayal, and we've had this discussion before where you feel like people have done things towards you, and that is a really difficult space from which to approach other people, because people tend to get, oh yeah, good, thank you, Mats, it still works. It just showed me a line with something else. It's very difficult to, maybe not difficult, but it's, if someone comes up to you and you feel that they feel betrayed, that you betray them, you're immediately going to be like, hey, I didn't betray you. What are you talking about? Like, you're going to be like, don't blame me. You're going to push away. Most people would do that. Some people would feel like, oh my goodness, I can't believe I did this. I'm so sorry. But for most people, their reaction is going to be like, no. We're not going to, what are you talking about? You're demanding something that's unreasonable. And again, we can't tell that from your text. We simply don't know enough background information to know what happened. Good, you go ahead. And in the end, that information doesn't really matter. It's not for us here to figure that out. But what we would do here would be to look at the distortion you have towards them, this feeling of feeling betrayed, and then see what can you do from there. And it could simply be that you're correct, that they simply didn't. It's you use a word, you're saying betrayed. That's a pretty strong word. I could say that if my fiance and I were going to do something on Friday evening, let's say we're going to do something Friday, But then she had a really big yoga teacher who's coming to town. And she's like, oh, you know what? I'm going to go and see that. Is it okay if I go and see that yoga teacher instead? Because he's like, I've liked him for so long and I really want to see what he teaches because I think that would be good for me. I could feel betrayed because, hey, we had plans. We were going to do this thing. Or I could see that, hey, wait a minute. This is something that's important to her. So she's not betraying me. It's just that this is something that's important to her and she's been wanting to do this for a long time. So why would I feel bad if she goes to this yoga course, yoga class with this person that she's been wanting to go to yoga class for a long time? There doesn't need to be a sense of betrayal. But I could also feel like I'm being betrayed. You see my point? It just depends on your angle, how you take it. And for you, I can see that you quite often feel like yourself is being threatened. And there's so much more you could go into looking at that. But that's a bit more difficult than doing via text response. I like your questions and I'm curious to see what you'll write as a response also. And thank you, Mats. I'm so happy you showed me that with live chat. I can't believe I didn't know about that. No wonder I missed messages before. I know Jack told me one time he was upset with me, thought that I limited his chat response, but it must have been that it just took. If it's too long, then it probably cuts it away and like, okay, I'm just gonna show the shortest, like, urgent text. Oh my goodness, all the millions. I don't think any live stream has ever gotten as many messages as I've gotten. I think that's why YouTube is throttling them, and I couldn't see them, but now I'll see them. See, now it's just like a blinking, like one of those 80s movies, when the guy is sitting in front of the Commodore 64 typing, and it's just text going, and he's hacking into CIA and stuff. That's what it's like now. How have you been? Me? Did you meet Björn Linde? Björn Lindeblom? Oh, was it Natanjan, or what was his name? The guy who was a monk. Andreas is the guy who went to, and he actually committed euthanasia, right? He took his own life in a hospital because he had a disease. If we're talking about the same Lindeblad, yeah, I think that's him. Jack, yes. Okay, JVB. As I've looked back at my actions, I wasn't needy, but I'm just disappointed that the people who seemed enthusiastic to help me eventually ignored. I don't want to be discouraged by my distortions. As I look back at my actions, I wasn't needy. Again, that's from your perspective, and we'll take your perspective here. But I'm just disappointed that the people who seemed enthusiastic to help me, did you contact them again? Have you asked them again without like sounding complaining that you didn't help, but say like, okay, I'm going to try it really hard again. Would you be willing to help? And then we're talking about personal development again. You could look at different ways of how you would ask them, be clearer in what you're actually asking for. Say that I need a foot in here. Could you ask, if you know someone who works somewhere you want to work, then you would actually ask them for like, who should I contact? Could you give me a connection and have them contact me, or be specific? I mean, that this is again something else we're talking about. Jack Crash, yes, I've been good, thank you. Mats, I'll head out now. Thanks for your time and efforts, Martin. Have a good evening. Enjoy, everyone. Yeah, it's getting late for me as well. I just wanted to see JVB. Natiko, that's his name. He was a monk. I think he lived, yes, he lived near me. I actually had quite a few friends who knew him, and he came back a bit before I came back. I never met him. I contacted him once, never got a reply, and I think we were vastly different in our approaches. He was a Buddhist. He was really a Buddhist. He talked a lot about Buddhism and as a religion and that kind of practice. Very popular in Sweden. He was quite big in talk shows and like radio and everything. Very loved by many people. JV, oh yes, I reached out respectfully without being rude. Good. Jack, it's always a pleasure to be here. Thank you for your time. Good night, Jack. JVB, I'm sorry, your questions are very good, but they're also very, how should I say it, detailed? Complicated is the wrong word. They're not things that can just be resolved easily because we're talking about big patterns. And it's nice because I can see as we go along, I see more and more of you and I learn more and I get a better understanding of what's going on. So hopefully we can keep on asking questions and gradually we'll find some angle to work with it. Nice. It's getting very late here and I need to go to bed. I have work tomorrow. Thank you, everyone. Have a good week and I'll see you on Thursday again. And remember, enjoy being alive, enjoy being wherever you are, and focus on the good mood feeling of just being you. Thank you. Bye.